I've just set up an automated cold emailing system on n8n, which will find the emails of your prospect, verify those emails, research the prospect, and then create a whole cold email and a follow-up email that's designed to get responses that is completely tailored and bespoke to that specific prospect. I just implemented this into a client's business yesterday. He's only sent 500 emails and he's already on a 6% response rate. So after the follow-up emails drip through, we're expecting to see way above 10%. So without further ado, I'll show you how it works. So this is it. Obviously a bit messy compared to everyone else's pretty ones with all the notes and whatever else they stick in there. But essentially a quick overview. This is a Google Sheets full of leads, which has been scraped from either LinkedIn Sales Navigator or Apollo. We'll then limit it due to API calls, specifically Perplexity. You can only do 150 at a time on the tier that this client was on. And if you didn't know, the more money you actually spend with different AI models, the higher tier you get, which means you can produce more API calls per minute. So I think he put like $200 in, which got him to tier 1, meaning he can send 150 API calls per minute. So we limit it to 150, but once he gets to the next tier, we'll put it up quite a lot higher, so it's a lot quicker. We'll then format the names because he scraped it from LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And what this means is that a lot of the names have brackets in there. They have Dr., Mr., a lot of accomplishments, nicknames, emojis, stuff like that. So we just want to format that just to get the first name and the last name. This is then finding the emails with something called AnyMail Finder. If no email is found, it'll add it to a Google Sheets just so we can have that consolidated data there so we know exactly what's going on. It's clean, it's nice. We know which emails have been added and which emails haven't. Then we'll verify the emails. Again, if they were invalid, it will go down here. We then research the prospect using Perplexity. We'll then use Anthropic to create a whole cold email and a follow-up email. I'll show you exactly how that looks. And then we'll add it to Google Sheets instead of an Instantly.ai module, just so we can make any changes and review if we want to before actually adding it into Instantly or Smartly, because it's really simple after that. You just add a CSV file and they all get added in. But obviously, if you wanted them just to get added straight into Instantly, that can be done too. So I'll break down all this as well. I'll break down it node by node just so you understand exactly what's going on. So this actually triggers when I press test workflow. Then it will read a Google Sheets. You'll see in here, I've added a filter for a column called processed. And here's the sheet. So we've got the full name, company name, title, summary, description, industry, location, duration in company, and the profile URL of their LinkedIn. So this is all straight from LinkedIn. So we're actually able to get their summary and title description. Now you might be asking me why we actually research the prospect, because surely we could actually get a decent personalization from this. And I say, yeah, that's true, especially if someone's got a big summary like this, but not many people do. So I want to add that extra step in, and it adds that extra layer of personalization. This can see whether they've been on podcasts, written books, achievements of the company, etc., etc. So we just want to add that extra step in with Perplexity, because then we get that whole personalization, that real deep one that looks like it hasn't even been written by AI, and that the sender, so me and you in this case, has actually spent the time looking and researching the prospect. Because I've worked in sales. If any of you have, you'll understand, and you've been told by your manager probably to research your prospect 5 minutes before you give them a call or drop them an email. Know what they do, what they sell, who they sell to, etc., etc. So you can write a personalized email or you can give a personalized phone call. So in this case, we just let AI do that all. And then we add a process column because let's say, for example, the system breaks. So I've actually got the main sheet here is about 50,000 leads in here. So if you're ever wondering how I scaled to so much so quickly, that's how, because I send out a hell of a load of emails every single month. Obviously, it's slowed down a bit now, but when I started, I prioritized volume over anything else. So just in case anything happened, if the automation broke, we'd want it to start off where it finished off. So for example, as we go through these nodes, it'll keep updating the sheet to say if it was processed or not. We'll also be able to see everything in there as well, all the variables that we're going to end up putting into Instantly. Well, this is the whole email. And it will tell us at each stage. So that will say email not found, email not verified, or this will say true and have all the variables in there. But I'll show you how it works later on. I'll run through the scenario, the workflow, so you can see exactly how it works. So yeah, that's the reason I've added that in. Just so if anything was to happen, it will start where it left off. Now, I've put a batch size of 150. Now, as I mentioned at the start, this is because Perplexity has a rate limit on their API calls, meaning I can't send more than 150 per minute. So I've just put a batch size at the moment of 150 and then a limit of 150 as well, just as an extra precaution pretty much. Then this is where we format the names. So I've told it that it's an expert intelligent writing assistant, and to properly format the name, remove anything and only output the name. Give it a load of examples here. So things that you do see in LinkedIn is stuff like that. People not outputting their full name, people putting, I don't even know, maybe that was her maiden name or something, Babbage. This guy, that was crap. He's got loads of stuff, right? This guy's been knighted by the Queen and I don't know what else. So we need to get rid of that mainly because the email, well, the only reason is because the email finder isn't going to be able to find it. If we put that into AnyMail Finder, it wouldn't have a clue. So this is why we want it to output like this, so that we can put that first name and last name into AnyMail Finder and it'll know. We'll have more of a chance of finding the email. If it's like this, we haven't got a hope in hell's chance. This doesn't matter too much. It would still find it, but again, I like to give things as many examples as I can. This guy's got his nickname in there, Dr. Daniel Robert W. We'll just output Daniel Robert, and then in the end, we just give it the last user message, which is going to be the full name from the Google Sheets module, which is that's the dynamic variable that's going to get mapped every single time, right? Then I've got an edit fields node, and this essentially is just cleaning everything up, making it a lot nicer, setting variables for the names that output from here. So I'll show you what that looks like. So the first name we've split. So I've got the JSON message content from the previous node, which is the OpenAI node. And I've split it by 0 just to get the first name. In make.com, this would be, the number would be 1. In n8n, the number's 0, and that gets the first name. It splits by the space. You can see I've put a space in there. So it gets the full name and splits it by the space and gets the first part of it. So imagine my name is Beinn. It splits it by the space between and gets the first bit, which is Ben. So it will output Ben. Same with the last node, we split it and join it and get the first one and slice it, and everything is a bit more complicated, but that's the way we get the last name. So that would output Yule. We put the company name, title, we clean the summary here. So what we're doing is we're replacing a load of things that could potentially break JSON down the line. So we're going to replace new lines, any double quotes in there, and we're going to replace them with single quotes because that's going to break the JSON later down the line. We're just essentially cleaning it all up, making it a lot more condensed as well, because as you can imagine, if people put a big title description or a big summary, your input tokens into the LLMs later down the line are going to be bigger. So we want to condense it down so we can really condense the input tokens and essentially spend less money. That's how that works. Make it a lot cheaper. So we're just setting variables there, and then we'll pass those variables into an AnyMail Finder API call. So we'll give it the company name, the first name, which is all from the edit fields, the last node, company name, first name, and last name. With AnyMail Finder, it's actually better if you give it a domain. So one thing you could add in here is maybe like a LinkedIn scraper from Appify, which scrapes the LinkedIn profile, the LinkedIn company profile, outputs the actual company domain and website. You'll only get a few more % of emails. It's not going to be a massive difference. But if you really did want to optimize this as much as you could, this is what you'd do. You'd probably try and add in a step here to get the domain from somewhere, or when you're actually scraping the leads, you'd make sure the domain's in there too. Then we hit an if, which is basically just a filter. So if the success is true, if it finds the email, in other words, it will carry on. If success is true, if it finds the email, it will carry on. If it's false, we go into here and it will map it by the row number. So it will know which row number that is. So say it's, let's have a look. So it will say Solal Kaufman on row 9, and it will know to update that row. So it will say processed, email not found. So if the email's not found, it'll write it in there as email not found. But if it's true, it will go to verify the email. Now, personally, I use Instantly's email verifier. You might have seen a previous video of me doing it through make.com. And for some reason, when I put a API call through make.com, it doesn't use my credits. But in n8n, it uses the credits. So I've had 25,000 credits, been verifying a load of emails, and it hasn't been decreasing my credit value. But now through n8n, sadly, I'm using credits, which is really upsetting, but it is what it is. Then again, it's a filter. So if the status is verified, or if the email, so what that's saying is if the email is verified, then go to true. If it's pending, then it will go through here as well, and we'll add a switch. But if it's not verified or pending, so in other words, if it's invalid, it will go to Google Sheets, again, map it by the row number, and it will put email not verified, and it will add it into the Google Sheets, which are, again, I will show you. So then we go to the switch. Now, the thing is, sometimes the Instantly verifier, the email verifier, if it takes longer than 10 seconds to verify the email, it prefers to send it to a webhook. But I don't want to get too complicated here, so I didn't want to send it to a webhook. What I did was say, if it's pending, it will go up here, number 0. Okay, so you can keep adding routing rules and keep adding different output, one of these things. So I've set a rule at the top. If it's pending, if it's pending at the top there, it will go up here. It will wait 60 seconds, which is a bit annoying, but it is what it is. It will recheck the verification using the same API call as here. And then it will loop back around and go to here, and it will say, look, if verified, carry on. If not verified, go down here. Okay, so that's how that works. We then research the prospect with Perplexity. Look at this mate, your boy here, detective. He's got his magnifying glass. He's looking, he's seeing what he can find under the hood of these companies to write a beautiful cold email designed for replies. Now, I sell this system and I see how well it does. It's absolutely incredible. So if you want to implement this into your business, or if you want to take this for yourself and go and build it and start outreaching to tens of thousands of people using this system, you're going to hit 100K within a couple months. I'll tell you that for free. I'll give this away for free. Anyway, we research the prospect, and what we're doing here is we're giving it the items from the set variables node, which is called the edit fields node. And I'm just giving it the first name, last name, title, the LinkedIn profile URL, because I don't even know if Sona can go and search the LinkedIn, but it would be pretty cool if it does. So I'm just giving it that anyway. I've given it the company name and the location. The reason I give it the location is because if you give it a company name and a company location, it's going to be very rare that there's going to be two different companies in the same location, in the same town, same city, with the same name. So I just to make it not hallucinate and get it wrong, I give it the company name and the company location, as well as obviously the lead's name, everything else. So it searches right, it gets the right output, etc., etc. You don't want it to make any mistakes here, really. I've asked it to get recent news or achievements, pain points, and the lead's role and background, because obviously we're going to be creating emails based off of the lead, not as much the company. It's more the lead and what they've been doing. Now, there's other things I've thought of. There's so many things you could do just to create incredible emails. You don't have to copy me. You could ask for, other CEOs, other founders, other decision makers, and you could say, is this email for you, or should I send it to John, the fucking janitor? Nah, you obviously don't want to be speaking to janitors, but what you'd say is, get me other decision makers, and it'll get the decision makers as well. It might search company's house if you're in the UK and know who else is in the people section. Stuff like that. You can do so much with it. It depends on your copy, the email copy that you want to be sending. So yeah. Then I set an edit fields, another set variable, because n8n is a bit weird when you're, especially in the chat, in the AI module. You want to be making sure you don't want to be getting information from loads of different nodes and all the different in the workflow, because it doesn't map so well like make.com does. It doesn't map the data. You could be grabbing data from anywhere, it doesn't know exactly where to do it. So if you do a set variable just before, you're setting the exact variables that you want, and then you can just pass that into the LLM. So I've just created the first name, last name, company, location, title, summary, title, description, LinkedIn URL, and company research. And that's it. All you're going to do is pass that into, I choose Anthropic because it's got a really good, I like the personalization of it. Again, you could just use OpenAI, GPT-4. Those, they're both really great at human-like personalizations. But I'll show you what the prompt looks like, because this is where the magic happens. So a big first user message, right? I'm telling it exactly what it's doing. I want the format, showing it the format I want things. To TLDR, social proof, giving it tiny little examples so that I can help you increase this. Social proof. I've got a PS in there to make it hyper-personalized again at the bottom. So it will say, look, even if it's a virtual coffee, I'd love to hear about your work with fintech and your approach to driving digital transformation at Praxonomy. And then another PPS. If you're not interested, let me know and I won't follow up, because people who don't want to hear your emails or see your emails, give them an option to opt out, right? Because then you're driving response rates anyway. And just to take a break from this, just to show you why we actually do these hyper, it's not as much to drive replies. You guys who have been cold emailing long enough, or at least have done your research on it, will understand that if you're sending thousands upon thousands of emails of the exact same copy, even with spin tags, it just doesn't work, right? You still now, with Google and Microsoft, they're going to flag you as spam. They're going to see that you're sending the same copy, understand that you're not a human, you're probably sending automated emails out, spamming people, trying to sell something, and they'll flag you as spam, domain's blacklisted, boom, you can't save it, you fucked. I can't say that, you fucked, you messed up, right? So if you're sending completely different emails, same structure, icebreaker, value hook, social proof, and a PS, if you're sending these really different emails but with the same structure, you're winning. You're going to be fine. Just send 20 a day, right? To start with, 2 weeks, 20 a day on each email inbox. You're going to be absolutely flying. You'll be generating replies like no tomorrow. Then you can decrease the warm-up emails to 20, increase the cold emails to 30 a day. Per account, you're flying. So I've got 100 different email accounts. Say I'm sending 20 a day. That's 2,000 emails daily. How am I not going to scale? How am I not going to put meetings in? It's incredible, especially with the cold email infrastructure that I've shown you before, that I set up myself. You're destined for success. And with this system, it's actually scary. A lot of people, you'll probably notice, just put a one-line icebreaker. Like, fair enough, it's good. I used to do it. That's how I started this business, was outreaching with a personalized icebreaker. And then I was like, hang on, what the heck? Why don't I just send a whole email that's personalized in the same structure that I want it to be, but send it a whole personalized email? I'm going to get more responses. It's going to look more personal. People are going to want to reply more because they'll feel more inclined, because they think you've put the effort in, etc., etc. If you want to send one-line icebreakers, go ahead and do that like everyone else is. No one's doing this, although after this, I'm pretty sure everyone probably will be. because it's a money making machine. You could actually just make it. In fact, I won't go into that. Let's just carry on with this. Anyway, so once you send that one personalized icebreaker, what next? What on the next email are you going to put? You already sent a really personalized one. How can you then link that and send another, everything else after that will just look generic. So what do? We create more examples to send a follow-up email as well. So I give it an example of exactly how it's going to be. Always start with just getting back to you, because if you've watched any of my videos before, you'll understand I hate the word follow-up. Just following up, just circling back. It's horrible, right? I'll give it an example of how I want it to be. Again, hyper personalized. I'll give you examples in the sheets when we actually run it, but just really, really hyper personalized. A bit of a jokey PS as well. If it doesn't land 20 investor calls, I'll personally eat my keyboard. But obviously I won't be doing that because it will land them 20 calls. Again, it's sort of a risk-free thing, etc, etc. I give it some additional notes, right? In fact, that should just be /n like that. Additional notes: stay away from spam words. Just do anything you can to get away from spammy words. Put a space in between the pound and the value. Again, because if it's like this, you're putting money in, which it doesn't like. Spam filters will, you don't send money or stuff like, what I mean? It just looks dodgy. It's dodgy. So you'll get flagged as spam. And I hate the term no small fee. If you've worked with AI and writing emails, it will get an achievement and then say, that is no small fee. Oh my, it's horrible. I hate it. So always output invalid JSON, no backticks. And then I tell it that it's intelligent, just like me, helpful, just like me, and then it's a writing assistant. And I basically run this once and get all the information, like the name, a company location, which this didn't have, a lead's name, job title, summary, everything, all the research. I give it everything. And I go, right, if I was looking at all this data, how would I look at this data and then write an email? Because you don't want AI to look like AI. So the more examples you give it of how you would respond, of how you would see that data and write an email, the more likely it is to write an email in your tone of voice. So this is the icebreaker. Hey, Richard, I love how technology rich is using innovation to set itself apart. Again, look, that would normally be like this because that's probably what he's put in his summary, but we want to change it to a single quote because, like I said before, a double quotes breaks JSON. And it would fail. This automation would fail later down the line. Technology underpins everything we do. So that's something he's put. Music to my automation-loving ears. It's short. It looks human-like. I've written this, so obviously it is human-like. Anyway, the too long didn't read. So the value hook. After they've read the icebreaker, what is it you then want to do? What is it you could do for them? I can build you a completely automated lead generation engine that finds, contacts, and books calls with your ideal clients on autopilot without lifting a finger. Short, to the point, snappy. Wow, he's thinking, this is incredible. This guy with a funny looking name is incredible. However, I don't trust him. Oh, well, we just built this for a similar IT consultancy. They pulled in 32 bags in new business within 30 days while barely touching their inbox. So again, it's fully autonomous. It's showing them what bit more value, what it does, and also some social proof. And then the PPS is, look, the PS, even if this isn't a fit, I'd love to hear how you're staying ahead in IT consultancy. Get the follow-up in there. I'm just getting back to you on this. Figured you wouldn't mind a system that fills your pipeline with ideal clients while you sleep, unless you prefer the old school manual grind, of course. /n. I'm sure if you're watching my videos, you understand what this means. But if you're new here and you're new to coding and you're new to all this and you don't understand, that just basically means new line. It basically means one of them That in code means pressing the enter on your keyboard, this button here, right? Is what that means. So if I put that twice, it means doing it twice, okay? I've built an AI-driven lead generation system that finds, contacts and books meetings with your perfect prospects on autopilot. No fluff, just results. You own it, you run it, and you scale it as much as you want. Can I share more info? I might take that out just because sometimes it just comes out with crap. You might have noticed from my previous videos, I have talked about this. I built this on make.com, and you might have noticed that I've taken out the call to action. That's because what's the point of actually having AI write the call to action? I'll just do it myself. Mind if I share more info? I made a video. Can I share it here? You can just write that yourself and do it with Spintax. It's as easy as that. And then a follow-up PS, which is a bit jokey. I normally send 3 follow-ups. You might want to do 4. You could send the second one as just first name ? Then this will be that what I just showed you will be the 3rd email. And then the 4th email, if you really want to drive responses and really want to get some leads in, would be, are you interested in a no charge test drive to see what's possible? Boom, people will reply to that. It's incredible. Anyway, yeah, so a few more examples. So I show it exactly how I want it to do it with a final user message. Here's the information, dynamic information pulled from the edit variables node. And then what I do is I pass it and then I add it to a Google Sheets for me to review. So without further ado, enough of the boring chat. Let's show you exactly how this works. So you can see in here, I've got nothing in here yet. Ignore the connection message, that's coming. That's something I should mention is this can be the foundation that you've built here, or I've built here, and you're going to build here, a foundation for your lead generation efforts. You could do stuff after this, like an AI agent that will respond to leads. You can do stuff before this, like something that ends up scraping the whole leads, and then this will trigger once the leads get added to a sheet, and you can just make one whole. A lot of people now talking about, which is what I've talked about a lot before, but a lot of people are now jumping on the bandwagon, is about AI infrastructures. I called them systems before, hyper automations, not just selling one-offs. You're selling hyper automations, you're selling systems. People are now talking about selling AI infrastructure, and I'd like to think I started that trend. I know a lot of you will be like, shut the fuck up, but I did. No, I'm joking. Anyway, so look, nothing in here, and I'm going to just run this. I can't remember what the limit was. Oh, I've put this to, obviously there's only 20 items in here, which is why it's outputting 20, but I am going to do 150 at a time. So it's not going to actually take too long to process 50,000 leads. It might take a while. But as you can see, I took my API keys out, so I best just put them back in and run it again. Right, cool. So here we go. 20. It's now formatting those 20 names. Create the variables, finding the emails. How many? 12 emails were found. 12 were verified. 11 were verified. It's now researching the prospect. You're probably wondering why actually these haven't run yet. It runs afterwards. So it'll do the Google Sheets. It'll go back to the loop round to do the rest, but obviously it won't do it this time. And then it'll just automatically add these in. So right now it's done 1 and it's got 11 to do. So yeah, it might take a little bit of a while, but is what it is. There's other things you could do, like batch update processing to optimize this. It doesn't make it any quicker. It does make it cheaper though. If you look at batch API calls with like OpenAI and Anthropic, they actually they give you a 50% discount on batch APIs. But you'd have to do a bit of coding beforehand to get the payload ready, etc., etc. It's fine. It can be done. You can just speak to Claude and he'll do the coding for you because he's very good at it. But, things like this, for me, I'm not in any rush. If you look at the top there, I've in the URL, this is self-hosted on my own virtual private server. I used to work, if you know my background, I worked for a managed service provider. One of the people see something's failed there, we'll have a look at that. One of the partners, a lot of the partners sold virtual servers, stuff like that. So I got a good deal on it. So I've got a nice beefy server for quite cheap, which is good. Anyway, it's added it in. You can see it's added in that one and added in the 8 items there. So if we go into the sheet, Alex W, the email wasn't found. Stephen Broadhurst, who I actually have on LinkedIn. I know he doesn't work here anymore, so I'm going to have to take that out. Anyway, you can see everything here. Impressive work bridging IBM Watson to GPT, taking conversational AI from experimental to enterprise ready. Look at that. I told it not to output that. No small feat. I hate it. So yeah, a little bit. This is why as well. You test with small batches and you test by adding things into Google Sheets, because you'll be able to see the copy, see what needs changing, keep refining it until you're very happy. And then you can add the Instantly API call where it just adds them all in beautifully. Look, I can help ThinJetty generate a predictable pipeline of AI and enterprise tech clients. So obviously Perplexity knows exactly who it is that these people reach out to and has generated an email based off of that. I can do this for you. Social proof, we recently done this, Even if we don't collaborate, I'd love to hear your perspective on generative AI's next big transformation. And then here's the follow-up. Just getting back to you on this. ThinJetty is revolutionizing conversational AI. But what if your client acquisition was equally cutting edge? An AI-driven outreach system could help you consistently connect with enterprise decision makers looking for advanced AI solutions. And if this doesn't book at least 50 meetings with enterprise AI decision makers, I'll debug my own code using carrier pigeons. I mean, that makes no sense. People will read that and think, what, has this guy got autism? No, it makes no sense. But you can see they're all sort of the same. So you've been scaling businesses from 0 to 20 million and opening markets across LATAM, APAC and EMEA. That's some serious global hustle. These were email not found. I can help Geodiker. Apologies if I've got that wrong and you're watching this, Matthew, which you're statistically speaking, probably not. I can help Geodiker develop a hyper-targeted AI-powered lead generation system that finds and converts ideal clients automatically. Who would want to respond to that? And again, email not found, email not found, email not found, email not found, email not verified, email not found, email not found, email not found, which is really cool. It just uploads it like that. So I know, stuff like Jane, I could get the email and I could see if I could get any more alternatives to the email and verify them. But really, this is just for my own sort of, I could then put this into my CRM, stuff like that, and only upload the ones that are true. But you can sort of see how this would work, and I'll actually show you this in Instantly. So here's the campaign I was on about for the client earlier. You see he's only said 500 and he's already at a 6.1% response rate. So when that carries on, right, when you get to the follow-up email and you get to the third email, it's just going to carry on. If he's got 6.1% from 500 emails already, he's going to be fine. 35%, you want to be looking at about 20% minimum. If you're getting less than 20% positive reply rate, you need to relook at your coffee. I've had too many of them. You want to relook at your copy, just have another look at it and decide what needs changing, how you can actually generate more positive replies. Does your offer need looking at, etc., right? If the industry average is 2%, for anyone who didn't know, the industry average for cold emailing is not the industry average. The just the average for cold emailing is 2%. If you're getting less than 2%, you probably want to stop and look at your deliverability, but 2 to 3% is normal. So if you're seeing 6%, it's pretty incredible. And obviously this still has another 2,000 emails to send, first emails, and then once the follow-up emails start dripping through, I could expect that to get to 10%, but I'll keep you all updated on that one just to see how it goes. Anyway, this is how it looks within the Instantly. So we've got the PS, social proof. I have taken that out now. The TLDR and the Icebreaker, it's literally just the only thing that's the same is best. And you might want to just, if you've got an Instantly signature, so you could just stick that in where you've got obviously your phone number, email, website, etc. But you don't want to be sending them as links, just so you know. Don't send any links in your first email. And then look at that, follow-up email, follow-up PS, easy as. And then the final email would be interested in a no charge test run to see what's possible. Is a really good final email to send if you're interested. And obviously this sort of email does generate some skinties, some people who I shouldn't call them that, some people who maybe are struggling, maybe some poor quality leads as well, just people who just want the freebie. So you could have some sort of AI agent that qualifies leads, scores them, and if they think it's crap, it's probably not even worth chasing. But you could put a human in the loop there just to see whether or not it's worth replying. Well, it's probably always worth replying actually, and always worth getting them on a call so you can actually show them the system and show them the results. But if you feel like they're a time waster and they're just there for a free trial, don't give them a free trial. Nah. They're just there for free leads. People like freebies. Some people are weirdos. It is what it is. So yeah, that's essentially how it works. Obviously I have got 50,000 people in here who all need processing. So that'll go through. I'd expect to have probably 20,000 hyper-personalized emails ready to send out. And I'll do that in a month and I'll make a fuckload of money. Just to make that clear to you all. But if you've been following this channel, you'll understand that I'm very much volume based. I like sending cold emails at scale. More cold emails you send, more responses you'll send, more busier you'll be, more money you'll make, more social proof you'll have. Just do it sensibly. And by that, I mean, by all means enjoy it, but enjoy it by being fucking disciplined, right? Like, you won't know what I'm on about there, but it is what it is. Yeah. Just as well, it can be the foundations of something else. Like, for example, you can actually, after the perplexity step, add another anthropic step to create a connection message, a first follow-up, a second follow-up, and a third follow-up message for LinkedIn. And you could make a LinkedIn outreach automation. And that's what I mean by this being the foundation. You could just add things in. n8n's really good for that. It's really cool for that. And I will be doing that and probably doing a video on it very shortly. But yeah, I hope this helped. Blueprint for this will be in my community, which actually isn't open to everyone yet. It's only open to a select few. So don't really bother joining unless you've got 10 grand a month to spare, because that's what it's at. But we're having a great time in there so far. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how these guys develop, who I'm working with at the moment. Blueprint will be in there, but don't join just to buy the blueprint, because it will cost you £10,000 for this blueprint. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Drop me a like, drop me a subscription, if that's the word. Let me know if you want to see more n8n stuff. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a great day. Goodbye.